right, movie fans, it is probably the most exciting time of the year if you are someone who enjoys high-quality movies. We're on the cusp of the Oscars, and here we are at the Movie Joust podcast, ready to talk about a bunch of other stuff and then talk about the Oscars.
Is this the most exciting time? It's not like we're getting new movies.
Well, but we're getting to award and recognize and honor the really great ones. So I think that's exciting.
The ones that came out exactly this time last year. Like, we've been living with sinners for 365 days.
Yes, and it's been a nice life. It's been a nice life.
I've been warning people that this is going to be a really intense Oscars for me, because this is basically like the closest I'm ever going to get to like my sports team in the Super Bowl. Like, I grew up in Charlotte. The Panthers are like awful. So like Paul Thomas Anderson getting a best director, this is like the closest I'm going to get to that feeling. So I've got my beanie ready. I'm going to buy some Modelo, and I'm just going to be like
Have
the
a
most
few small beers.
Yeah, I'm just going to be the most obnoxious person at the Oscar party.
You're going to be waving pom-poms that say PTA on them, huh?
Yes.
Okay, well, with that, guys, before we get to the Oscars, by the way, because there's someone listening out there who may not know the voices with the names, I'll go ahead and do the introductions. My name is Jason Evans. The dude who's going to say hi next is Jesse Nussman.
Hi.
There you go. And Josh Sewell is with us as well. Josh, let everyone know what your voice sounds like.
Hello. This is me.
Perfect.
I'm sorry.
Guys, before we talk about the Oscars, and it's worth noting, if you're someone who's tuning into this and you're like, wait a second, the Oscars already happened, because it's entirely possible that by the time you get this podcast, the Oscars will have already happened. That's why we're going to put them off. We'll discuss them toward the back half of the episode, and we won't be discussing exactly like making predictions or anything. We're going to just be doing like the crazy stuff that we think could happen. So it's fun to listen to it, because you'll know, wow, they were completely wrong about that. Or, oh my God, one of those guys nailed this insane thing that no one thought was going to happen, and they knew about it, because all three of us have crystal balls, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but what we're going to discuss first is a new movie in theaters that people are really, really excited about getting excellent reviews. Perhaps like the first sort of big hit of 2026. It is Project Hail Mary. It is based on a novel by Andy Weir, the guy who gave us The Martian. It is written by Drew Goddard, who also wrote The Martian. So a lot of people are saying, hey, it's another The Martian. And so our task here is to see if we have anointed another film that is going to be both a critical darling and an audience darling, a sci-fi, have fun in space, sci-fi science film the way The Martian was.
Please state your name.
Ryan Grace. I just woke up from a coma. I'm several light years from my apartment. And I'm not an astronaut. I'm not an astronaut.
Jesse, I'll go to you first.
Oh,
actually, why don't you describe what this film is about? Because there may be someone lying under a rock who hasn't seen it.
Yeah, so Project Hail Mary stars Ryan Gosling as I'm kind of unsure how much of this movie to describe, because we basically have joked on this podcast that the whole movie is kind of given away in the trailer. So I'm going to say as much as I can, which is Ryan Gosling plays a bumbling, insecure science teacher at a middle school, I believe, who is then recruited by the nations of the world to help them on a last-ditch effort to save our sun, which is it doesn't matter. The sun's dying of something. It involves some sort of microbial organism. There's a lot of science mumbo-jumbo in here. Let's just say the sun's dying. And Ryan Gosling wakes up in space. The rest of his crew has died. And he's like, oh, shoot, I'm totally unqualified for this. What do? I guess I need to go forward with this mission. But you know what? He's not alone, because tagging along for the ride, needing to save his own son, is a little rock spider. And most of this movie is pretty much Ryan Gosling and a little puppet rock spider just doing science together and trying to solve this grand mystery of why is everyone's son dying. And that's pretty much the movie. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Silent Running. Have you guys seen that movie? The like 70s sci-fi movie with Bruce Stern, and he's like protecting the last forest on this spaceship, and the whole movie is kind of just Bruce Stern and these little robots like talking and like playing cards and doing gardening. This is kind of like that. And if you enjoyed all the science problem solving of The Martian, as well as you enjoy the Ryan Gosling that you got in things like Barbie or The Nice Guys, or what was that stunt movie he was in with Emily Blunt a couple years
The
ago?
stunt guy.
Fall Guy.
This
The
is
Fall Guy.
this,
Fall Guy, yeah.
this is that Ryan Gosling, not the moody, I'm gonna sit in my car and listen to pop music Ryan Gosling of Blade Runner and Drive. And
Hey, he
yeah,
listens to pop music in the Fall
that
Guy.
is true.
He
does,
rocks out to Taylor
well,
Swift.
and he listens to pop music here. He does listen to music here.
Sure.
So I
think that the easy way to describe him is this is Ryan Gosling acting like Ryan Reynolds.
yeah.
I will say,
mean,
at
that,
least
a little
without
bit.
getting
No, that's
getting into-
accurate. If anything, this made me sort of think like, is Ryan Gosling kind of like the better version of Ryan Reynolds of,
Oh,
you know,
100%.
of
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling is somehow able to be kind of likable and personable enough and do that kind of like every line is sort of a like sarcastic comeback line, but
the difference
in
the
a way
difference
that is
between
not smug like Ryan Reynolds is.
that's what I was gonna say is, like, if nothing else, I would say the last third of Project Hail Mary sort of proves your thesis about that, in that, um, Ryan Gosling can also be smug and sarcastic, but I never doubt his sincerity.
Yes.
I think Ryan Reynolds is incapable of coming off as sincere. You get a good bit of sort of tugging at the heartstrings and some emotion in the last third of this movie that, I've seen some critics compare, uh, uh, it even like, you can't tell me that Andy Weir didn't have Ryan Gosling in mind for this. The character's name is Ryland Grace. Like, that's as close to Ryan Gosling as you can get, but the relationship between Grace and E.T. has been compared a lot to, like, Grace and Rocky has been
Rocky.
compared a lot to Elliot and E.T., which I can kinda see.
Yeah.
It really, like, E.T., Rocky, both hideous-looking creatures that have no business being described as cute. Rocky's cute, man, he's endearing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
really root for him, and
It's
so
a real testament to Ryan Reynolds as a movie star that most of this movie is just
Ryan
him
Gosling.
interact-
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, I'm
Ryan
sorry.
Gosling.
Not Ryan Reynolds, someone who I have an allergic reaction to and like I just like hate watching on screen. No, most of this movie is Ryan Gosling like interacting with a puppet on screen.
Yeah.
For like 2.5 hours, basically.
Yeah,
Which
but
is
the
a
film
solid Oh, go ahead, Jason, sorry.
I was gonna say, the film works best as a buddy comedy.
Absolutely.
As these two guys, and I don't wanna say like they're bungling, they both have genius, they're both solving problems in really creative, interesting, science-y kind of ways, but it's sort of a like, "Oh, you messed up, I'll fix it. Oh, yeah, now I messed up, you fix it." But it is very, very much, um, the best parts of it are that kind of buddy comedy, buddy energy sort of stuff that draws you into their relationship. You care about them surviving almost as much, if not more,
Yeah.
than you care about Earth surviving.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yes.
and you have and I think a lot of that comes down to, the directors, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, welcome back, gone far
Oh
too
god,
long.
giants,
Um,
just giants.
Their
Yeah.
their sort of insistence on doing as much of this as they can practically. Ryan Gosling is interacting with a puppet whose puppeteer is moving him and voicing him on set. He's not staring at a tennis ball against a blue screen. In fact, I don't know how much of this is accurate and how much of this is, marketing and spin, but the directors claim that there were no green or blue screen shots used in this film. He
I don't
said
believe it.
not
Yeah,
there's no way.
that's gotta be like
said-
like you could say that and like we use the volume. That's not technically a green screen or
And I think what he meant was there are absolutely thousands of visual effects shots in this film. I think what he means is they didn't build like 3 chairs on the ship and say, "We'll
Mhm.
put the rest in later." They actually
Right.
built a physical spaceship, right? Because, the one that, Gosling's character is gonna be on, it's not this massive, like, Millennium Falcon style ship. It's enough that, in theory, 3 people are supposed to
We're only
survive
in
half
like
a
3
trip on.
we're in like 3
Yeah.
rooms on that thing the whole
Exactly.
time. Yeah.
So, pretty easy to I say easy, like I'm not the one doing it, pretty easy for a crew to construct that rather than asking your visual effects artist to throw it in later. Because I think that that's, not to put down other movies to raise this one up, but I think that's why people are getting so burned out on comic book movies is like there's no stakes when you're clearly watching actors that aren't even on the same stage together, you know?
Mhm.
And so to have Gosling interacting with his co-star who isn't real, but they're going to these great lengths and efforts to make him feel real, I think really comes through in the film.
All right, so let me ask this question to you guys. It's clear that all 3 of us really enjoyed this film. It's clear that the film is getting outstanding reviews. I think
Mhm.
audiences are gonna like it a lot. Is it as good as The Martian? Because The Martian was an awards quality kind of film and a movie that really, really captured the public consciousness. I should go look up the box office numbers. The Martian box office numbers
It
are
did
really
really well.
It
yeah,
was a big
yeah.
hit. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that this is that kind of film, or does it come up a little bit short? And I'll preface by saying I think it comes up a little bit short. I think there's a little more scientific mumbo jumbo kind of stuff that I was a little bit like, huh, what? I found that especially through like the middle third, I wasn't quite as engaged by the plot as I'd hoped to be. And even though I love the humor in this, I almost thought the humor took me out of some of the stakes of the story at time. There is
Mhm.
Ryan Gosling is doing a whole lot of joking around at really, really serious, important moments. I get that that's part of how he's coping with it and the such,
Yeah.
but again, like I'm comparing it to a film that I consider one of the best sci-fi films of the past
Yeah.
decade or so, and I'm saying that this comes up a little bit short. Josh, where are you?
Yeah. To be fair, that's a valid criticism. I know that that tone is not for everyone. That's lifted straight from the book. I finished the book the same week I saw the movie. This is a very, very faithful adaptation of Weir's novel, just like The Martian was. I think that tone worked for Matt Damon a little more than it does Ryan Gosling. But yeah, Weir is very much a dad joke sense of humor writer, and the novel is like 475 pages of dad jokes and incomprehensible science. And so the fact that they were able to pare down the science mumbo jumbo, I guess by increasing the dad jokes, I get that ratio. I don't think this is going to be as successful as The Martian for a couple of reasons. For one, this is a much more expensive movie than The Martian was. The 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 Martian was a relatively modest budget for such a huge sci-fi endeavor.
Yeah, the
The
the Martian was 108 million supposedly on the
Yeah,
budget and made 630 million at the box
yeah.
office. I looked it up.
Lord and
Maybe kinda
Miller
makes
are
sense because you have, like, Ridley Scott being like, "We're gonna kind of, like, shoot out in the desert for Mars," as
yes.
opposed to, like, this movie where they are kind of in more sort of fantastical sets the entire time.
And Lord and Miller also know they're playing with Amazon money, and so that doesn't really say, "Okay, we gotta cut corners with our budget here." They're like, "It's Bezos, like, give us the money, man." Um, so I don't, as far as, box office success for Project Hail Mary, I think it's gonna be really big. If anecdotal evidence is to be believed, I know I'm just like one dude, but, like, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, um, more like, people will ask me about movies and stuff. I can't count the number of times people have been like, "Have you seen Project Hail Mary yet?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "What'd you think?" I was like, "Well, my review's coming out." They're like, Send me a link when you publish your review." Like, I really wanna see like, the anticipation for this one and the excitement for it, is kinda catching me off guard a little bit.
Jesse, where are
Yeah,
you on this?
um, I'd I genuinely don't I think this movie will be a hit. I think the The thing that's sort of like twisting me in a bit of a knot is like there I feel like people have less interest in something if it gets overly marketed, and Josh and I kind of like joked on I think a previous episode of like this movie getting a little bit over marketed. And I do wonder whether some people, and I sometimes wonder like if people see the Amazon thing, they're just sort of like, well, that's just going to be on Prime eventually. I'm just going to wait
Yeah.
for that. But
It's like the Chris Pratt AI movie, right? Yeah.
right. But I think this is a movie that I'm gonna kind of like weave through my thoughts on it right here. I think this I am not as high on this movie as you guys are. I had a fun time. I agree with Jason. I think the jokiness of it's a little too cutesy for my taste. And so I don't know that it'll quite have the same I don't know, it's been a while since I've seen The Martian, but, like, in thinking about other recent space movies, like, I think I personally, like, gravitate more towards the, like, earnestness of something like Interstellar, for example, and the
Mm.
parts of this movie that are more earnest, I think, are the parts that, um I gravitated to the most, especially as you get towards the end, and there is this more like emotional core that builds between Ryan Gosling and this little puppet that's like really
Mhm.
genuinely sweet. Um, and there are moments like there's a bunch of flashback sequences in the movie. It's kind of told out of order. So you sort of like begin with Gosling in kind of media res of he wakes up on the spaceship and doesn't know like who he is, how he got there, what his mission is, and then you sort of see these flashbacks that kind of help fill in that information as he's sort of remembering more of his past. And that kind of like
Some of
slowed
those I was
some of
gonna say
those
some of
slow
those
down
are
the
great, but there's some of them through the middle that I was just like, "God, can we just get on
it
with it?"
it kind of drags down the movie a bit, especially as you
Toward
get
the
towards
end, they're
the
really
end.
good, and they pay off toward the end, but like I said, the middle third, I was sort of like, "Okay, let's get this moving."
So I do kind of wonder of like this is a movie that on paper I think will find an audience, and it is built to be the kind of like A+ cinema score like crowd pleaser you can bring the whole family kind of entertainment. But will it have the kind of legs? I'm unsure just because of the Amazon aspect of it, as well as some people maybe like myself who see it and are like, my message I'm gonna give to our viewers is like, I would kind of just say like, money's tight right now, just wait and watch it on Amazon. But that's also me being someone who I found the cutesiness and the humor of it like a little grating in places where I was just sort of like, I don't just let me be invested in the stakes of this as opposed to like we can't be serious for like 5 seconds and we need to have like a joke for everything. I know that's a super nitpicky thing and more of like a personal taste thing. I still would
No,
say this is worth checking out regardless of whether you see it in theaters or streaming, but I do wonder whether there'll be some audience members like myself who see it and are like, I don't know, that kind of felt like a kid's movie to me and was or maybe wanting more of the sort of like, interstellar experience for lack of a better
And
word.
that may be like a personal thing, because to me, I responded to this way more than I did Interstellar, because I don't think Chris Nolan has ever experienced an actual human emotion. It
Oh,
to
all the
me,
stuff with
it's
Matthew McConaughey is so like
no,
shots
tear-inducing.
no.
fired.
No,
Oh,
that's
man.
the main reason I don't like Interstellar is the last 10 minutes of that movie, because he always talks about, like, "That's a love letter to my children," and I'm like,
He
"Oh, he
meets
hates
his
his
daughter at
children."
the end.
Yeah,
He
no, no,
like
no.
holds her hand as
No,
she's
no.
dying.
Let me read. No, no, no. He transcends time and space to reunite with his daughter, who he speaks with for 5 minutes and says, "Peace out.
And
I gotta go
leaves.
find
Yeah,
this
yeah.
hot chick I met on a spaceship." Like, he tries to get back to his daughter, sees his daughter, and says, "Well, see you later." It's like Jim Carrey outside the 7-Eleven in Dumb and Dumber. He's like, "Big gulps, huh? Well, see ya." So yeah, it's to me, Nolan is a head filmmaker, not a heart filmmaker.
Mhm.
And to me, Lord and Miller give you the spectacle. I'm not saying that the spectacle is as great as Interstellar or anything, but to me, they understand heart and emotion more. So that's kind of why I responded to this a little more. I will push back and say, if you're interested in this, I would say see it on the big screen because it really does give you a sense of scope and spectacle, especially in those spacewalk scenes. There's not a lot of action scenes in the film. It really is, like we said, it's about uh, it's a friendship story, and it's a yay for smart people story, and but the spectacle stuff is really cool on the big screen. But that's the other thing I'll say too, like in our current environment, big fan of competency porn. It's like, "Hey, let's watch smart people do their jobs,
Yeah.
and look, they care about humanity." And, it's we live in an age of, like, my opinion as is just as valid as your expertise. So, a movie that celebrates smart people, I'm all for that right now.
Yeah,
Can I?
and it's worth noting that the smart people are from all over the planet.
Mhm.
Yes.
So it's not like a, "Hey, look at the white man saving everybody."
Yeah.
Sandra Hüller is in this, who's a brilliant, wonderful actress.
Yes.
If you ever saw Anatomy of a Fall, she's,
Yeah. I
she's
think this is her
If
first American film, I believe.
Interesting.
it
I
might be.
think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll also
She's
I'll double
say
check while you're
if
talking.
you saw the German film Tony Erdmann and are like, I
Yes.
want to hear more of
Yeah.
that woman sing, you get to hear her
There you
sing.
go. She's gonna sing. Yeah, so I
Can I
clear
throw out a hot take that I think is gonna like
go for it.
rile
Yeah.
Josh and Jason up a little bit?
Although I wanna note something. I'm right in between the two of you.
Okay.
Jesse's on the low end, Josh is on the high end. I'm dead in the middle of you guys, and really quick, just because we've been on this point, I am completely divided on whether I should tell whether I tell people go see it in theaters or wait for it on streaming. Because yes, Josh, you're absolutely right. Some of the effects, some of the scenes are really great. But on the other hand, I'm like, if you got a big screen TV at home, I don't know.
See, that's kind of like where I am of just sort of like
Yeah.
I think you can save your money of like I feel like this movie is being a bit overhyped. And I kind of walked out a bit being like, I had fun, but I'm a little baffled at some of the like
I mean,
early, oh my gosh, we have our first next year Oscar contender, or like this is
yeah.
the next
So
great sci-fi classic movie.
The Martian got 7 Oscar nominations. It won 2 Golden Globes. I do not think that this film is on that level. But Jesse, give me your hot take, and then we're going to move on to the Oscars.
Are we Lord and Miller overrated?
No, no. Have you lost your mind?
No.
What question are you asking?
What have they done before this? They had like the 21 Jump Street movies, which like the first
The
one
Lego
very
movie.
very funny. Lego movie,
The
great.
Lego movie.
That's
Cloudy with
it.
a Chance of Meatballs is really damn good.
That's all right.
And this movie showed us that we could have had a so much better solo movie.
I agree, but we didn't get that, so we can't count hypotheticals. We
Yeah, I
can't.
think
No,
you're
no.
just trying to. I think you're trying to joust for a lackluster.
I'm
movie.
trying to joust.
So-
I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
in the run up to this movie being like finally the return of Lord and Miller, and then like I've been having conversations with people being like, yeah, so what else have they done? And then like being like, oh, can we count Spider-Verse? Because like, yes, they
Yes.
wrote Spider-Verse.
Because they wrote it and steered it through production.
But
Just
like,
because they
is
weren't
that
named
the
as
thing that's like
directors.
great about
is-
Spider-Verse, or is it
this
the, like,
is not-
the animation and the?
This is not a hot take. This is rage bait.
Wait. You don't think that as the producers, the writers, and the creative forces behind the Spider-Verse movies, that they're responsible for the animation a little bit? Have
I
you
think-
lost your ever-loving mind?
They seem like really creative guys. I'm just not sure if they're like visionary filmmakers. That's my point.
Anyways,
Yeah,
Good Lord.
I can't even speak. I'm so shocked at that take, Jesse.
I can't think of
Lord
the
and
last time I watched the Lego movie or 22 Jump Street.
Okay, well, wait.
they're
I
both
want to
great,
point out
man.
something.
I don't know what to tell you.
I want to point out something. Frankly, the way they came at the Lego movie and 21 and 22 Jump Street was not conventional wisdom. Like if you just tell, oh, we're making what they did with those movies was unusual. It was creative. It was very thoughtful for movies that are really silly, slapstick, kind of just,
Sure.
weird comedies. They did some really smart stuff with those movies. I can't even.
They're like J.J. Abrams. They're good. They're good
Whoa,
company
whoa,
guys.
whoa.
Oh, no,
Absolutely not.
no.
They're good at
Wash your
rebranding.
mouth out with soap. They actually know how to end films. They can tell a
Yeah.
story.
In fact, their films' endings are the ending of the Lego Movie is great stuff. Are you kidding me, Jesse?
How did the Lego movie end? I don't remember.
When they go in, I'm not even gonna start with you.
Yeah.
This was
They're
clearly
it's like when we were like J.J. Abrams is a visionary filmmaker for so long, and then eventually we learned the Emperor has no clothes.
Yeah, because he doesn't know how a narrative works. He knows how to put, like, pretty wrapping paper on other people's stories. That's not what Lord and Miller are doing.
okay. We're not. I'm post privilege.
Anyways,
This conversation's over, and Jesse has lost his ever loving mind. Okay. All right.
I win. I win the joust.
At me on social media. Let me know your thoughts,
I win the
everyone.
joust for having the controversial take that Lord and Miller are good, actually.
All right, guys, we're going to move to the Oscars, to the Academy Awards. As I said, it's very likely that they will have already happened by the time folks hear this. But for the record, it is 5:30 on Friday, and we are approximately 50 hours, I think, from the start of the Academy Awards. So everything we're going to tell
Predictions
you
are
next.
locked in. I've made myself not touch them anymore. What I've
There we
guessed
go.
is what I've guessed,
All right, so I don't want predictions. What I want from you is, what is something crazy? What is something that no one sees coming that you think could happen? Not that you're saying it will happen, but you're like, you know what? I think this could happen. Jesse, I go to you first. What you got for me, man?
I feel like something weird's gonna happen with Best Actor.
Yeah, same. That was
Like my
Dude,
maybe.
I told you that was mine.
Well, okay. I have like a bunch of these, so I'll just sort of recycle. But like I feel like there's a possibility of like a Wagnamora wins Best Actor
Excellent.
situation,
Yep.
and then there's this whole like annoying discourse where people are like, "What the hell is the secret agent?" But and
I will have you know that if you go back and revisit our Oscar nomination special, I said this like a month ago. I
oh,
said,
okay.
Wagner
I
Mora,
mean,
don't be surprised.
the chaos agent in me hopes that it's Timothy Chalamet, and that just sort of like breaks everyone's brains. Like there's already so much like BS controversy around Timothy Chalamet at the moment that I hope
I
he gets
did
up there, and I hope I hope he says something like shout out to, or like, I did what the ballerinas and the opera singers couldn't do. I won Best Actor, and then like walks off stage.
Oh my
I will
God.
say that I just found out that, they are the 2 best song nominees that they're performing live are, like, the only 2 good ones, which is Golden and
Right.
I Lied to You, but they're gonna try to recreate the amazing scene in Sinners for the stage, and that
Wow.
one of the dancers in I Lied to You is going to be ballerina Misty Copeland, who has been one of the most vocal critics
Oh.
of the dumbass
Ooh.
statements that Chalamet has been making, so, um, theater nerd fight, we'll see, I'm all for it. Um, but yeah, I think mine is gonna be I'm not really going out on a limb there. I think this is either gonna be, like, my best track record I've ever done or my worst. I think it could go either way, and I'm excited about that as somebody who's not really precious about predictions and stuff. I'm looking forward to an embrace the chaos kinda ceremony where if you go by statistics, we kinda know what's gonna happen, but this could also be an entire night full of, like, Olivia Colman beating Glenn Close or Marcia Gay Harden winning. That would be a
You
fun
think
night
it's
to
like
watch too.
Frankenstein wins Best Picture, Guillermo wins
No.
Best Director
Jesus, no.
again.
No.
Um,
But but by the end of the night, Frankenstein will have, like, more Oscars than Vertigo or Citizen Kane, so there you go. Yeah, I joke with my students and I say, like, "This is fun in a fantasy football kinda way, but don't ever look to the Oscars as a barometer of quality, and my jokey answer for that is Suicide Squad and Citizen Kane have the same number of Oscars. So
So
that's my crazy prediction is brackets are either gonna be like 100% across the board or everybody's gets broken in the first category.
so my crazy prediction, as I already alluded to, is that I think Ethan Hawke actually has a chance to win Best Actor, and the reason is because I think everyone recognizes that that one battle that Leo maybe isn't even the lead in that movie. I
This
actually
is
think
like the
Sean.
most insane take that you guys have of just being like sidelining Leo in that movie, giving like one of the best performances of his career.
Oh, no, he's
That
great in the film.
that's
He's
great.
just not the
I just don't
lead.
think he's the lead. I don't think he's the lead. I don't. Um, I think, as we discussed, Chalamet is problematic at this point. Michael B. Jordan's probably going to win it. I don't think
If for
as
anything,
good as
then
what
he's playing two characters on screen, basically.
I mean. It's a
Honestly,
great
3.
it's a great
Like,
performance.
because you've got Smoke and Stack, but then you've also got, like, the vampire version too, so, like, he's playing the same character from different angles, so, yeah, it's the people that say, like, he doesn't really stretch as an actor for this film are out of their minds, I would
Yeah,
say.
no, and he's who I picked on my ballot. I think
Same.
Michael B. Jordan wins, but my case for Ethan Hawke is that if you watched Blue Moon, you go, okay, well, that's the best acting performance of the year. Like,
Phenomenal, yeah.
I think it's pretty simple, and part of the requirement of the Oscar voters, unlike the public, unlike all of us on the betting markets and the people who are, putting in predictions and the such, Oscar voters at least claim on an affidavit
I
that
was
they
gonna
have
say,
watched every one of these movies,
Oh my
and I
gosh!
think
Did you guys read the deadline
with
thing?
the biggest air quotes of all time around, check the box that they've watched everything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they a hell of a lot more of them will have watched Blue Moon than the general public. No question about it. And I think
I
that
will
if you
be I will be super happy if I get this one wrong because it's Ethan Hawke. Like, not only did he deliver the best performance of the year, um,
he's in
he
every
has
damn second of the film. The film is basically just following him around the whole time. It
and
is the opposite to some extent of Leo's performance because, like we said, I think Leo's in about half the movie. Uh, Ethan Hawke is in every second of Blue Moon. He carries the entire film. I think it's a again, if you watch that movie, you go, okay, well, I know what the best acting performance of the year was, and I
and it's,
think,
I'm not a he's due guy, but it's insane that Ethan Hawke doesn't have an Oscar yet.
yeah, yeah, he's due. So that's my and he is like, I think he's in last place in the betting markets, in terms of who's gonna win this prize. He's at like 3% or something like that, and everybody else is ahead of him. But I think there's a chance that he's going to take this category.
I wouldn't
Any other
complain.
crazy predictions out there, guys?
Is it
Do
crazy
we
to say
think
I
that
don't
Sean
think
Penn's gonna
Hamlet will
show?
win?
Wait, hold on, Josh, go
Go
first.
on.
Do we think Sean Penn's gonna show? I think he's gonna win. Is he gonna be there to accept his Oscar? And if he is, how quickly do they cut away from his speech to commercials? Like, I know that people are sitting back there with their button on the, like, 7-second delay in case somebody drops an F-bomb. What happens if his entire speech is, like, the political equivalent of the F-bomb?
That'd be fun.
So I think he will be there. I don't think he'll pull a Marlon Brando and send up a member of an Indian tribe to accept award on his behalf. So I think that Sean Penn will be there, and I think he will see it as a moment to make a statement about
Mhm.
the world. He's someone who cares very deeply, very passionately about a lot of the things happening out there. And yeah, I think that it's possible that he will get up there and make his statement and not stop, and that they will have to either
I was
drag
gonna
his ass off stage or
I was
or
gonna
cut
say
to
he's gonna
commercial
be
or something like that.
this year's Adrian Brody.
Hmm.
Yeah, it'll be a big moment, and I do think he's gonna win that. Any other craziness you guys got coming out of the
Is
ceremony?
is it crazy to say Hamnet walks away empty-handed?
No, I mean,
Jesse Buckley's
well,
got it in the bag.
other than Jesse Buckley, it's not favored for
No,
anything. Although I think
but what if
crazy
what
because
if
I think Jesse Buckley's at least 80% to win
but
that
what if
prize.
what if I say that like Jeff's like, what if this ends up being another like Glenn Close situation of we've
No.
just sort of like we've decided that this is happening, and then just sort of like the Oscar press has sort of put this narrative, and then like we get to awards night and people are like, yeah, I didn't like Hamnet. I didn't like it.
Yeah, she's the
Or people are like,
biggest
I
give
saw
me
The
of the night.
Bride. I don't like Jesse Buckley.
I don't think
Well,
it's
I
a
don't think they
Glenn
saw The
Close
Bride in time.
situation.
And then
Their
they give
votes were
it
in before their votes were in before The Bride came out.
Oh, that's true.
And not only that, but like when you look at people's problems with the Bride, and there are many, don't get me wrong, Jesse Buckley is not at the heart of any of those. I would
Or
say.
they just get up to the ballot and they're like, you know who I did like? Rose Byrne. Or there's just like another one of the nominees where they're just like, you know what? I've been hearing that Jesse Buckley was going to win this award for like the last 6 months, basically. And you know, sometimes the Oscar voters have a little bit of like, don't tell me what to do prognosticators, and they like swerve. And
No,
maybe
no,
this
I
is an
would.
Olivia Colman year.
Nah. No, I don't think so.
Right.
I would say that the Glenn Close Olivia Colman year also had like a weaker field that was like dividing the vote more. Um, this one has always come down to Jesse Buckley or Rose Byrne, and of the two, Rose Byrne is in the more divisive film. I know not everybody loves Hamnet, but If I Had Legs, I Kick You is not a movie that like all Academy voters are gonna be like, "You know what I loved?" Like, it's a very intentionally off-putting film, and
Right.
Oscar usually doesn't go for that.
Yeah.
I think the
Okay.
nomination's the win for her.
All right. All right. With that, we're going to wrap it up. We will come back next week and we will see how we all did in our Oscar predictions. We will discuss what happened with those Oscars, and maybe there'll be some new movies for us to discuss as well. Who knows? Until then, his name is Jesse. His name is Josh. My name is Jason. You've been listening to the Movie Joust podcast, where for some reason we are fighting about silly stuff like whether Phil Lord and Christopher Miller are any good at their jobs. Goodness gracious.
All I'm saying, overrated.
All right. We'll see
Yeah,
you at the
on that
movies.
note.